Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, the glory to Sri Guru, Sri Gauranga. So now we can begin by chanting, and as before, request everyone to mute their microphones so we don't get double feedback on the difference in the sound velocity. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dari. Yashodanandana Gaja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Gaja Janaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivashadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Gaura Hari Bo. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupada Paramahansa Paribhaj Gacharya Ashtottara Shatashishimat Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Bharat Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishnom Vishnupada Ashtottara Shatashishimat Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Bharat Thakur Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Bindiki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की वृंदावन धाम की मायापुर धाम की गंगामयी की जमुनामयी की तुलसी देवी की भक्ति देवी की समवेत भक्तवृंद की श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की Nitai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru, Sri Gauranga, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So I welcome everyone and thank you for giving me this opportunity to do some service. So today we'll be speaking about, 1 minute. Today we'll be speaking about a specific aspect of chanting the holy name, about the offenses that one commits in chanting the holy name and how to avoid them, and certain precautions that we need to take in our chanting. So let us begin by reading. I chose 2 verses because the first 2 verses, 6, 2, 9, and 10, they speak about basically what I'm talking about, and also verse 11. But I included verse 11 because Prabhupada's purport for both verses is contained, or otherwise for the first 9 and 10 and 11 is contained in the purport for verse number 11. So today we won't, let me see if we can repeat. We won't repeat I'll just read the verses today since there's many verses, 3 verses. Stena Surya Po Mitadru Brahmaha Guru Kalpaga Sri Raja Pitrigo Hanta Yecha Patakino Pare Sarvisham Apyagavatam Idam Eva Sunishkritam Nama Vyaharanam Vishnu Yatastad Vishaya Mati Naniskritaya Utadaya Brahmavadibis Tata Vishudyat Yagavan Vratadivi Yata Hare Nama Padaya Udahritais Tad Uttama Shloka Guno Palam Bhakam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I'll read first the translation of the verses 9 and 10, and then we'll read the translation and purport of text number 11. The chanting of the holy name of Lord Vishnu is the best process of atonement for a thief of gold or other valuables, for a drunkard, for one who betrays a friend or relative, for one who kills a Brahmana, or for one who indulges in sex with the wife of his guru or another superior. It is also the best method of atonement for one who murders women, the king or his father, for one who slaughters cows, and for all other sinful men. Simply by chanting the holy name of Lord Vishnu, such sinful persons may attract the attention of the Supreme Lord, who therefore considers, because this man has chanted my holy name, my duty is to give him protection. So I'll read text number 11. There's no purport for text 9 and 10. Naniskritaya uditaya brahmavadibis tata vishudyat yagavan vratadibi yata hare nama padaya udahritais yad uttama shloka gunanukharagam. By following the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies or undergoing atonement, sinful men do not become purified as by chanting once the holy name of Lord Hari. Although ritualistic atonement may free one from sinful reactions, it does not awaken devotional service, unlike the chanting of the Lord's names, which reminds one of the Lord's fame, qualities, attributes, pastimes, and paraphernalia. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments that the chanting of the holy name of the Lord has special significance that distinguishes it from the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies of atonement for severe, more severe, or most severe sinful actions. There are 20 types of religious scriptures called Dharma Shastras, beginning with the Manu Samhita and Parashara Samhita. But herein it is stressed that although one may become free from the reactions of the most sinful activities by following the religious principles of these scriptures, this cannot promote a sinful man to the stage of loving service to the Lord. On the other hand, chanting the holy name of the Lord even once not only frees one immediately from the reactions of the greatest sins, but also raises one to the platform of rendering loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is described as Uttama Shloka, because he is famous for his glorious activities. Thus one serves the Lord by remembering his form, his attributes, and his pastimes. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that this is possible simply by chanting the Lord's holy name because of the Lord's omnipotence. What cannot be achieved through the performance of Vedic rituals can be easily achieved through the chanting of the Lord's holy name. To chant the holy name and dance in ecstasy is so easy and sublime that one can achieve all benefits of spiritual life simply by following this process. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu declares, Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. All glory to Sri Krishna Sankirtan. The Sankirtan movement we have started offers the best process for becoming purified of all sinful reactions and coming immediately to the platform of spiritual life. So this and many other verses in the Srimad Bhagavatam creates a wonderful platform for our I don't know what happened, but anyway, I think I was absent for a while in reading the purport. Did everyone hear the purport?
Yes, everybody can.
I saw something here that said I was signed out. So anyway, if you heard it, I won't repeat it. So,
yes, we can hear you, Gurudeva.
Pardon?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. So, Om Jnana Timirandasya Ganam Jana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Darati Swaparantikam Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Titi Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshutarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So I chose these verses because so many devotees, including any one of us, and I include myself, sometimes we're chanting, we see all through Srila Prabhupada's books, all through Srila Prabhupada's quotations from different shastras, the power of the holy name, the potency of the holy name, the promises of the holy name. Let me see. Anyway, there's so many verses from different scriptures that say if you chant just one time, the holy name will, deliver you from past, even in Harinam Hari Bhakti Vilas, it says that just by chanting the holy name once frees all, meaning once, of course, means without offenses. It doesn't mean that I heard my sweet Lord from George Harrison and therefore I'm freed from all sinful activity. It means that you chant without offenses. But you can chant without offenses consciously or unconsciously. And here we're speaking about the most merciful manifestation of the Lord, where a devotee chants the name of the Lord in complete negligence of understanding he is the supreme person, of worshiping him, of performing devotional service, but still he attains in a very short time Vaikuntha, and he attains a perfect situation for achieving Vaikuntha just by chanting the name of his son. So, of course, I'm going to speak some things about that, which is a very, very interesting understanding of the holy name given by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Jiva Goswami, and of course Srila Prabhupada all throughout his books, of trying to understand this phenomenon, the power of the holy name, and yet I've been chanting the holy name for so long, and I try to chant sincerely, but it doesn't seem to be taking full effect. I have to struggle. And just on that note, I wanted to refer back to a previous class where someone asked me, or someone commented, Nityangi Devi Dasi, that she feels so much inspiration, or why is it, let's put it in more general terms instead of one individual, feels so much inspiration by hearing from different scriptures, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and it's very easy, very pleasurable, gives some degree of spiritual happiness and fulfillment. And yet, how is it that the holy name is not, I don't feel the same thing. How can I come to that point of feeling that same thing from when I chant the holy name? So this is basically the question, and maybe I shortcut it a little bit. So I want to go back just to that question because it is an important question. And in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that Indriyane parayahur indriyebhya paramanaha manasastu parabudhi yo budhe parata tusaha. So what is, Krishna says that above the dull matter or the objects of the senses are the senses. And above the senses, indriya para manasa is the mind. And above the mind, manasascha manasastu para buddhir, above the mind is the intelligence. But above the intelligence, yo budhe parata tu saha, above the intelligence is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the soul. So the point I was making the other day, and maybe I didn't extend myself enough, is that yes, we can feel the happiness of Krishna consciousness or fulfillment in Krishna consciousness even on the level of the senses. Even if my mind is not fully under control, even if my intellect is not very much developed, even if I haven't realized the platform of the soul, still, by using my senses in Krishna's service under the instructions of Sri Guru and Gauranga or the Vaishnavas, I can clean the floor, I can wash pots, I can go out on Harinam Sankirtan, I can do so many things externally. And when I learn to do those things mentally, otherwise when I have my mind sufficiently disciplined that what I think about, my thoughts are focused on Krishna, and or when my intellect is nourished by hearing the Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, then of course these are all platforms of realization, but still beyond the senses, the mind, the intellect, is, of course, there's the false ego, but it's very difficult to worship Krishna through the false ego. We have to actually convert the false ego into real ego by aham brahmasmi and Krishna Krishnera Nityadas, that I am the eternal servant of Krishna. So this we can worship Krishna, but still the intellectual platform can be a little dangerous because we can easily be deriving, we can have a mixed pleasure of satisfying the intellect and also, of course, in pure devotional service, a devotee is not looking for his personal pleasure, looking for the pleasure of Krishna. So when we're doing devotional service for our own satisfaction, that is not, it's not sinful, it's not bad, but it's not perfect. Certainly, we're all acting out of personal interest when we're in the category, which Krishna gives 4 categories: the needy, the inquisitive, the distressed, and the searcher for the absolute truth. So as long as we're in one of those categories, we may, especially if we're searching for the absolute truth, it's wonderful. Krishna himself says, this is the best. This person has practically achieved me, he says. But when someone is on that platform, Krishna also says that bahunan janmananante jnanamamam prapadyante, that after many births, otherwise if you stay on that platform of gyan, after many births, you may come to Krishna consciousness. But if one comes onto the platform of the soul, where one really relishes the holy name, because the holy name, we have to understand, let's go to the Shikshastikam. And this is how I'm tying this point into the points I want to make today. So when we go to Shikshastikam, then we find the Shikshastikam Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has mentioned to us that there are 7 stages mentioned in the first verse of the Shikshastikam. So we'll just consider that first verse. And so first of all, that Cetodarpanamarjanam, cleansing the mirror of the heart. So these as Srila Prabhupada mentions in one purport to the, let's see, that's a purport like Madhya Lila 12, maybe verse 110, verses like 110 or 1, I can't remember the exact verse number. But in any case, there, Srila Prabhupada, quoting Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, says that the things that cover the heart are like grains of sand, dust, and straw. And so specifically the grains of sand and straw, these things are considered to be 2 things. One, misidentification with the self being the body and not the soul. And the other thing is an inordinate desire for economic development. Srila Prabhupada said that is the whirlwind, or what brings up all of these grains of sand, dust, and cover the heart is a desire to enjoy this material world and dedicating oneself to the means or economic development by which I can do so. So, of course, we can also enjoy this world on the intellectual platform, and we can enjoy this world on the mental platform. So these are different degrees of covering of the heart. So Queen Kunti says that Janmaishvara Shuta Shibir Edamana Manapumam, that there are 4 things: wealth, reputation, education or learning or knowledge, and beauty or personal attributes that are dangerous because they can increase the fever of material existence, but they can also be used in Krishna's service and they can make us advance very quickly. Just like if I have good reputation, and I use my reputation, just like Srila Prabhupada instructed George Harrison. George Harrison, at one point, he wanted to shave his head and join the ashram. And Prabhupada said, no, this is not good. You are a famous man. Therefore, use your fame for serving Krishna. It will be more effective than you coming and living in the ashram. Of course, Prabhupada knew he wouldn't last anyway. After being a famous beadle and glorified, and then come and live in the brahmacharya ashram, it wouldn't have worked. And as far as wealth, Srila Prabhupada says again and again, if you use your wealth properly, then it becomes a great asset and Krishna will not take it away from you because it's not an obstacle, it is your platform of service. And knowledge, if one is very knowledgeable and uses his knowledge or her knowledge only for Krishna, then that knowledge becomes purified. And personal attributes, beauty, Prabhupada used to say to the lady Sankirtan devotees, by your attractive features, it will be easier for you to stop someone and convince them to take this book. So everything can be used in Krishna's service, but certain things can also, and especially the intellect is very subtle. So if we try to enjoy Krishna consciousness through the intellect or in any way, it's not a problem, but it's not the highest platform. Our purpose should not be enjoying. Srila Prabhupada says that the yogis who meditate on Paramatma, that meditation is perfect, but generally they're looking for their own happiness. So it doesn't come up to the standard of pure bhakti. So that was my point, that yes, we can worship Krishna with the intellect, but we should try to come to the platform of the soul. When we're actually on the platform of the soul and we're serving Krishna from that platform, we have realized those things which on the intellectual platform are sometimes theoretical. Just like we all understand, we accept it intellectually that I'm not this body. But if we're not on the platform of the soul, we will not live our life as if I'm not the body. So the intellect in that way, sometimes it theorizes, we can understand the theory in the Bhagavatam, but we can't always apply it. So this is what I was mentioning the other day, that yes, it's wonderful, but we want to use that intellectual stimulation to come to the platform of the soul, and that will make us completely happy in our Krishna consciousness. So you're going back to the Shastikam. The first thing is, even on the Namaparad platform, just like in the Padma Purana, it says Nama Parada Yuktanam. When one is joined together, Prayuktanam, or very inclined to commit offenses against the holy name, then Namam Yevat Yagam Harant Yagam, then one should immediately destroy the effects of the offenses against the holy name by Avrishanti Paryuktani, by constantly and very concentratedly chanting the holy name. This concentration on the holy name, how does it come about? This was elaborately explained in one beautiful pastime of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that manifested in 3 different phases, or over 3 years. When Satyaraj Khan, who is the descendant of Gunaraj Khan, who Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu glorified, his book Sri Krishna Vijay, which took the certain parts of the Bhagavatam and made it very, especially the 10th and the 11th canto, which are sometimes difficult to understand. He explained them to for the benefit of common people, just like Srila Prabhupada has made such elaborate purports. Such elaborate purports have never been made before as Srila Prabhupada has made to the Bhagavatam. No? Otherwise, you see Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, 75% or more of the verses that he comments on is one word or a few words. For Srila Prabhupada, basically 75% or 80% of the purports Srila Prabhupada comments on. So no one has done this before. But in any case, the Bhagavatam is explaining Krishna consciousness perfectly. So, but the Bhagavatam becomes a reality when one actually understands. So Satyaraj understands it when someone is explaining it properly. So Satyaraj Khan asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that how can I, a materialistic man and also a grihasta, how can we be saved? And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Krishna Seva Vaishnava Sevana Nirantar Kori Krishna Nam Sankirtan. He said that you serve the Supreme Lord, you serve the Vaishnavas, and you chant incessantly the holy name of the Lord. No. And then Satyaraj Khan said, he knows who Krishna is, but he said Vaishnava Seva. Who is a Vaishnava? No. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I have to read this, I haven't memorized this verse. Janra Mukhe Shune Ek Bhar Krishna Nam Se Puja Shashta Sabar. That whoever chants the holy name just once is the topmost human being. But by just once, again, we must understand that means chanting without offense. In the case of Ajamila, he chanted without offense, but he chanted unconsciously. Just like there's one very beautiful verse about the holy name, which I've quoted several times. Madhuram, Madhuram, Madhuranam etam, Mangalam, Mangalanam, Sakala Nigama, Bali Satpalam, Chit Swarupam. Sakridapi Parigitam Shradhaya Helaya Va. It says that the holy name is the sweetest of all sweet things. It is the most auspicious of all auspicious things. It is the highest fruit of the divine creeper of devotional service. It is the fully, eternally spiritual and a manifestation of the direct spiritual potency of the Supreme Lord. Of course, it is Krishna himself, as another verse says, which we'll discuss a little later, maybe. And whether if you chant it once with great faith or with neglect, it will bring about crossing the ocean of birth and death. So how can it be that one can chant the holy name neglectfully? Neglectfully, or helaya, means without full concentration. But it is said in the Bhagavatam that Ajamila's concentration was full. He was totally concentrating on his son, but he was not in any way committing an offense to the holy name, because he wasn't considering that name to be equal to the demigods. He wasn't offending the devotees, no, because he didn't have a Vaishnava spiritual master, even though he had studied the Vedas as a very pure Brahmin in his youth. No. So he wasn't disobeying his guru because his guru taught him different things, and he wasn't a pure Vaishnava guru. He wasn't blaspheming the Vedic literature. So all of these things, he wasn't doing any of the offenses, but he chanted with negligence. But because it was offenseless chanting, then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says something very interesting. It wasn't the last time he chanted that freed him. It was the first time he chanted the name of Narayan, or his son. At that point, he was freed from all past, present, and future sinful activities. And every time he chanted that name afterwards, offenselessly, it simply was producing bhakti, the effects of bhakti within his heart. And when he chanted at the time of death, again offenselessly, then at that point in time, he was completely relieved from all sinful activities. You know, and it just he had to perform devotional service favorably in order to go back home, back to Godhead, which is why he was sent to Hardwar, but under perfect conditions for spiritual advancement and coming to the platform of pure bhakti. So, so Satyaraj Khan, he made this inquiry, and then, so the Lord, first of all, he said that a Vaishnava is someone who chants one time, meaning one time offensively the holy name. He is considered to be the topmost, meaning the neophyte platform, that a neophyte really becomes qualified as a Vaishnava when they chant one time without offenses. Then the next year, when the devotees came to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Rath Yatra, again, the residents of Kulinagram, or represented by Satyaraj Khan, asked him, no, what, they asked him again, who is a Vaishnava? No? Or how can we achieve the performance, the perfection of the holy name? And he said, do two things, Vaishnava Seva and Nam Sankirtan. First he said, serve Krishna, serve the Vaishnavas. Now he's saying Vaishnava Seva and Nama Sankirtan. If you do these two, Pabe Shri Krishna Charan, you will achieve the lotus feet of Krishna. And then the question came, but who is the best of all Vaishnavas? And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Krishna Nam Niranta Jahan Vandane Se Vaishnava Shrestha Bhajatang Hara Charane. He said, a person who is always chanting the holy name of the Lord is to be considered first class, and your duty is to serve his lotus feet. So in that time, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was describing a Madhyamadikari, always chanting the holy name, and always engaged in the topmost platform of devotion, Madhyamadikari. So what is an Uttamadikari? The next time they asked the Lord, who is the Uttamadikari? And the Lord says, Janghara Darshane Mukhe Aishe Krishna Nam. No. He is Vaishnava Pradhan. He is the greatest Vaishnava. The first class Vaishnava is that person who whose very presence makes others chant the holy name of Krishna. Just by seeing the first class Vaishnava, just by seeing, or just in the case of Srila Prabhupada, people would see him and they would become totally immersed in the whole, they would want to chant Hare Krishna. Just by seeing Srila Prabhupada or just by hearing from him a little bit, they would want to, because seeing in Kali Yuga, you see through hearing. We have to see through hearing. This is how we understand. Now it's interesting that Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that the neophyte devotee, although they may understand Krishna and they may be worshiping the deity, their level of realization comes to the level of Brahman. Otherwise, they're worshiping Krishna, they're seeing Krishna, but their understanding hasn't really surpassed the level of Brahman or Brahman realization, and therefore they can easily be deviated from devotional service. The second class devotee, because he's always chanting the holy name, meaning he chants a fixed number of names every day, and the rest of his time is engaged in devotional service, and especially preaching the glories of the holy name, that person's realization is on the level of Paramatma. Otherwise, they understand that I have to take guidance from the Lord in the heart, and the Lord externally manifested in the form of Sri Guru and the Vaishnava. But the first class devotee, he's actually realizing the Lord on the platform of Goloka Vrindavan, or on the platform of Vaikuntha, also for the Vaikuntha devotees. Otherwise, they see the Lord as the supreme person. They don't see the Lord. Their realization is on the level of Lakshmi Narayan or Radha and Krishna. So this is just something I wanted to mention to show how even once we enter into devotional service, we have to progress, because on the neophyte platform, we can so easily be deviated. If something goes wrong, many neophyte devotees, something goes wrong in their life, they think Krishna is not protecting him. And in relation to these verses, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that Krishna's protection, we can compare it to the protection of a wealthy Vaishya or a Kshatriya. That when a wealthy Vaishnava or Kshatriya, they give protection to someone according to their surrender, otherwise to how much they agree to obey them. But it doesn't mean that they cannot give protection. It means that they will give protection, as Krishna says, Yeyatamam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham, that Krishna will give protection in the proportion of our surrender. Lord Ramachandra says, if someone surrenders to me only once, sincerely, it is my duty to give them protection. So Krishna will give us protection, but if we're committing offenses and if we're doing so many things that are not proper for devotional service, that protection will come in the form of difficulty. But if we're actually surrendered, we will see difficulty, and the Lord's direct reciprocation of spiritual happiness coming directly without any difficulty, it will be the same. So this is just that whole thing, trying to relate it to this verse, is explaining why we don't want to take pleasure. We don't want our motive of serving Krishna or hearing the Bhagavatam or chanting the holy name to be our own pleasure. Although pleasure will automatically come, but it should not be our motive. Our motive, generally speaking, the motive for most of us is that we want to stop suffering. So when we don't stop suffering, which is an impossibility in this material world, because the material body will always be subject to suffering, and the mind will always be subject to suffering. Even Srila Prabhupada experienced difficulties, when people would disturb his translation or something. The mind will always give us some difficulty. The intellect will always give us some difficulty of trying to boost our false ego. So only actually when we arrive at the platform of pure chanting can we really consider ourselves to be safe, and because the holy name is constantly with us. We can't always feel the satisfaction of the intellect, and it's even more difficult to feel the satisfaction of the mind or the senses on the spiritual platform. But we can experience the pleasure of the holy name. Because why? In the second part of the first verse of the Bhava Mahadvagni Nirvapanam of Shikshastikam, it says, extinguishing the fire of material existence. So that fire of material existence is also explained in the Guru Vastikam, that when the spiritual master is compared to a rain cloud, and the rain that comes from the spiritual master, the downpour, is in the form of the holy name. And the instructions that we get are basically to incline us to chant the holy name. If there's any instruction that we find, the strongest thread throughout Srila Prabhupada's books is chanting the holy name, which he puts above everything else. And we should not be satisfied until we feel that the holy name is above everything else. In that regard, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in relation to the verses that we read, he says that when the holy name becomes secondary, otherwise when it becomes a subsidiary of karma or gyan, meaning that I chant the holy name, but my main interest is achieving some benefits from karma yoga or jnana yoga. Then the holy name becomes uh, subsidiary. And then Bhakti Devi, this is an offense against Bhakti Devi, but she's so compassionate that even if we make the holy name secondary, then she gives us success in our karma or success in our gyan so that we can come to the platform of worshiping her properly. But if it becomes so secondary, you know, or even we try to equate gyan and karma and bhakti, then we will never get the fruit of loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, but we may eliminate our karma, we may eliminate because the holy name has that power. And therefore the Bhagavatam says, akama sarvakama va moksha kamudadati tivrena bhakti yogena. That whether one is in the akama platform of not having any material desires other than pleasing the Lord, or one is sarvakama, full of all kinds of desires, or one desires liberation or freedom from birth and death, then tivrena bhakti yogena, we should worship Krishna very seriously, especially through the chanting of the holy name. And then, because that is the solution for everything, it will destroy our sinful activities. Sinful activities through atonement, because this whole section of the Bhagavatam is based on Parikshit Maharaj's rejection of atonement, saying that it's just like the bathing of an elephant. No, we've all heard that example. So he says, what is the use of atonement? And Shukadeva Goswami was actually testing him. He tests Parikshit Maharaj's determination at different times. So he was thinking, if he's rejecting atonement, let me make sure that he understands that atonement is a byproduct of bhakti. Otherwise, the destruction of sins, just like when Sri Haridas Thakur, he was invited to come into the assembly of Raghunath Goswami's father and brother, who would always invite many Brahmins to come and discuss the devotional service. That's how they used their wealth. They didn't use their wealth just to enjoy life, although naturally, it's very natural for a wealthy person to have a big living facility and opulences. Just like Pundarik Vidyanidhi, he showed how someone can be supremely opulent. He had an opulent dwelling. Of course, his motivation for having it was not to enjoy his senses, but was to keep people from glorifying him as an advanced Vaishnava. Therefore, he had so much opulence, and he had his hair so nicely oiled with perfumed oils and the best silk clothing and the best silk decorations and cushions, so that anyone who saw him would think he's a gross materialist and they would never glorify him. But in any case, he showed, as Arjuna and Yudhishthir and so many wealthy Vaishnavas or powerful Vaishnavas showed, that in no way does the power of their devotion deviate them from the process of devotional service, from the internal process. They may have to accept that wealthy position or power, just like Parikshit Maharaj, he accepted a kingdom, he accepted being the emperor of the world. But when he was cursed, he said, finally, I can give up all this opulence and this palace and horses and treasury. You know, when we're aspiring for those things, he's giving them up, you know, very happily. So the internal condition of a Vaishnava is always absorbed in the Lord, totally absorbed. And that absorption is not appearing every once in a while. It is constantly there in the heart of the devotee. And it is their main motivation in life. So we get the opportunity to come to the platform of devotional service, just like the rain of the holy name and transcendental knowledge that comes from the Karuna Gana, or the clouds of mercy coming from the ocean of mercy. And that's very interesting because when uh, the Brahmin who performed Lord Chaitanya's horoscope, or who gave his horoscope reading, he said that his name will be Vishvambar. And the name Vishvambar is because just as the rains after the dry season come and nourish everything, Vishvambar means that he will nourish the world through the chanting of the holy name, and he does it through his devotees. And therefore it's very important that, because one can give the argument that Ajamila, he did not get initiated. He didn't have a spiritual master. But that was a special arrangement. Just like the Lord, Krishna became Arjuna's spiritual master. So the holy name became the spiritual master of Ajamila to show the power of the holy name. That is so powerful, as Lord Chaitanya said in speaking with Satyaraj Khan, that you can chant the holy name to act doesn't require initiation or even purascharya or preparation for initiation. But then Srila Prabhupada explains very elaborately that that's the exception. But the rule is that everyone must take spiritual initiation, because only by the mercy of the Vaishnavas can one receive the holy name properly. So going on with the Shikshastikam, the third point is that that the holy name really benefits one on the platform of Nam Basa. That's when Shreya Kaidava Chandrika Vitaranam. That's when the moon rays of the holy name and Nama Basa penetrate the heart, and then we can feel the effects of the holy name. On the platform of Nama Parad, it's very difficult to feel the effects of the holy name, which is why we will be more inclined to intellectually enjoy the understanding the holy name is beneficial, but when we chant it, then the theory of its power does not translate into a reality. The theory of its power remains theoretical, but we understand that I must have this holy name, I must have this benefit, and we do get some benefit. But if we're still on the platform of Nama Parad, the benefit is very minimal, because the offenses, especially the seventh offense and the offense of interpreting the holy name, can prevent us from getting the actual effects. But we understand the benefit of chanting, but it remains on the intellectual platform. Then the fourth point, that we that Vidyavadu Jivanam, the holy name is like a wife. Otherwise, a wife, of course, nowadays this may not be true due to our present Kali Yuga situation. But previously, a wife was very faithfully following her husband. Of course, that requires that the husband be qualified. So the wife, just as the wife follows the husband, when one becomes totally dedicated to the holy name, as a good husband is only thinking about serving his wife and his family, then, of course, serving Krishna and engaging them in that service, then the holy name becomes very, very dear to that person. And that person becomes very dear to the holy name. And of course, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives the example of Bhakti Devi, who is actually like a wife or consort of the Supreme Lord, and her two sons, knowledge and detachment, will follow her. So one automatically attains knowledge, detachment, Vasudeva, Bhagavati, Bhakti Yoga, Yochanaha, Janiyat Yasu Vairagyam, Yanachaya, Haitukam. As the Bhagavatam confirms, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur elaborates, that the holy name gives us all knowledge, all detachment, and when we chant it properly. And the fifth point of the Shikshastikam is that Anandam Buddhivardhanam, that the holy name gives us increasing bliss when we actually sincerely and seriously plant the seed of the holy name in the heart. Guru Krishna Prasadi Pai Bhakti Latta Beej. By surrendering to Krishna, or trying to understand Krishna, Krishna gives us his devotee, and his devotee plants the seed of devotion in the heart. And when that seed begins to sprout, which is Patipatamritamrasvadanam, then we start tasting the holy name more and more and more. First manifestation is that we actually feel happiness in chanting. The second manifestation is that from the holy name, which is the root of spiritual realization, being Krishna himself, being the root of all spiritual knowledge and understanding, then the holy name becomes more and more manifest, and we can understand the forms of the Lord and the different forms and their different beauties, and they're just like we see the Lord of Nrsimha, Lord Nrsimhadev, his form is the form of protection. We see the form of Ramchandra as the form of the Lord demonstrating morality and dedication to service, and the form of Krishna as the ultimate pinnacle of beauty and transcendental reality. So these things are then the form, then the qualities of the Lord become manifest, just like a flower that's opening up. And when the flower opens up perfectly, the flower of chanting the holy name, then we understand Krishna's Leela. And when we understand Krishna's Leela, Krishna invites us to come and participate in that Leela. Of course, Lord Chaitanya, as he does with the holy name, he also does with Leela. He engages us in Krishna's Leela, in his own Leela. He is Krishna himself. So the Leela of Sankirtan, the more we engage in the Leela of Sankirtan, meaning either we do Sankirtan directly or indirectly, either we do it by preaching, giving out prasadam, giving out books, giving out transcendental knowledge, or we do it indirectly by supporting those activities, then we are actually entering into the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as Srila Prabhupada explained, saved the whole universe over time, meaning that he's giving that duty of saving the universe to all of us, to give us the opportunity to participate in his pastime. So, so this demonstrates how the holy name, as it's stated in the Puranas, Nama Chintamani Krishna's Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddha Nitya Mukto Abhinatwan Nama Namino. That there's no difference between the holy name and Krishna, and that holy name is the transcendental gem of devotional service, which gives us the taste and the understanding of Krishna's transcendental spiritual position. It's complete, it's totally pure, and it's always on the transcendental platform. It is not different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Krishna reveals everything to us. And when Krishna reveals everything to us, then sarvatma snapanam, we become fully bathed, just like when you take a shower or a bath, your whole being is being purified. So sarvatma snapanam means that our whole being has become purified because param vijayate Shri Krishna sankirtanam, because the holy name has totally conquered our hearts. When Rupa Goswami spoke of the holy name, conquering the heart, he said that Tunde Tandavali Pratim Bitanute Tundavali Labdaye Karna Krodha Kadambidi Gatayate Karnam Buddhibhyas Priyaha Cheta Prangana Sangini Vijayate Sabindriyanam Tim. That when the holy name, when we chant it properly, then the holy name, we would like to have more tongues. And the nectar coming from the holy name is so so sweet that we would require 10 million ears as a minimum to be able to capture that sweetness. And it enters into the courtyard of our heart and destroys all the effects of the senses, the mind, and the intellect. So no jane janita kiad biramritaye Krishna varnadvai. Who can understand how much nectar there is in the two syllables Krishna? This is the power of the holy name. So, Lord Chaitanya, even in his first verse of Shikshastikam, he elevated the holy name to the highest platform, which completely eradicate the existence of material life. So, I mentioned that Haridas Thakur, he came into the assembly of these Brahmins, and then the relatives of Raghunath Das Goswami, Hiranya and Govardhan, they began to glorify Haridas Thakur, and everyone else began to glorify Haridas Thakur as if they had thousands of mouths. And then two Brahmins, one of them said, no, the holy name can destroy all sinful activities. And another Brahmin said, no, it's greater than that. It can give us liberation. And then Haridas Thakur said, actually, these two things are byproducts of chanting the holy name. It is not our purpose of chanting the holy name, although it may be the motivation of someone who's approaching the platform of the holy name. But it is not the purpose of the holy name. Purpose of the holy name is to experience love of Godhead. And I want to experience it, not even for my own happiness, but so that I can serve Krishna to the highest degree. Only on that platform of pure devotional service can I do so. Only when I'm full of love of God can I please Krishna to the greatest degree. So Haridas Thakur began to elaborate that liberation comes just like the sun rising on the horizon. The sun, as soon as you see light coming from the sun, before the sun has risen, but that light takes away the fear of thieves and ghosts and all kinds of undesirable elements. Of course, some people are possessed by ghosts, so they may see them even at midday, but a normal person will feel relief. And then when the sun actually arises, you feel greater relief. So when we come to the platform of spontaneous bhakti, which means the sun is actually arisen, then we wait, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, avidya, what is that verse? Avidya timara tapana rupe hridgagane vidaje. That all ignorance and darkness are destroyed when the holy name comes to fully risen in the sky right above our heads. There's no darkness, there's no shadow, there's nothing, there's only the pure holy name. So the holy name in that way completely frees us from all everything undesirable. So in this verse, specifically, it's stating that it says that the power is so powerful, it can take away the effects of a thief, a drunkard, one who betrays friends or relatives, who kills Brahmins, or who indulges in sex with the wife of superiors or the guru. It is also best way to atone for murdering women, kings, fathers, slaughtering cows, and other sinful people. That doesn't mean that we chant the holy name and then we do these things thinking, well, I'll just chant more when I kill this Brahmin or when I kill this woman, or hopefully none of us are on that platform. But people may think this way. And therefore, this is the seventh offense against the holy name, and it is very grave and very sinful. So So therefore, um, we should understand that atonement or pious activities or being a nice person or trying to be a nice devotee, that may atone for the effects of sins, but only by coming to the platform of minimum namabhasa, can we destroy the root of sinful activity. And of course, this was explained to Parikshit Maharaj in the very beginning of this canto, sixth canto, where uh, Shukadeva Goswami, after hearing Parikshit Maharaj's confirmation that I cannot accept atonement, which means sacrifices and all these Vedic things that we do, they're good for people who are on the karma kanda or jnana kanda platform. But for a devotee, no. A devotee wants to destroy the roots of all sinful activities. In the case of Ajamila, one can question, how is it that Ajamila, especially if he was able to eliminate sinful activity at the beginning of his the first chanting, the first offenseless chanting, how is it, why did he continue to perform sinful activity? So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives us some interesting insights. He says, first of all, no, that I just wrote this down because it's a lot to remember. That even in the sense of, in the case of very serious devotees, or even in the case of pure devotees who have just come to the platform of pure devotion, that the impressions of previous lives have already been, otherwise they came to the platform of devotional service in this life, so the impressions of previous lives are still there and may appear in the form of accidental fall down, which is why Krishna said, Apichet sudaracharo bachate mamananyavak sadureva samantavya. Even if a devotee commits some abominable sinful activity, if they immediately reestablish themselves in devotional service, not for 3 hours or a day and a half, but permanently in their lives, or it may happen 1 or 2 times because of previous impressions. And in the case of Ajamil, his bhakti was accumulating as he chanted more and more, but the sinful activities or the impressions from previous activities was still very strong. So that may be one reason. Another reason may be that that if everyone immediately got the effects of chanting one time the holy name of Krishna, then all materialistic shastras dealing with karma and jnana, karma kanda, jnana kanda, they would all be somehow or another eliminated. And people would artificially either try to chant the holy name to eliminate things, or to, instead of chanting the holy name, to glorify Krishna, or that they would conclude that some people have to conclude this, that that chanting the holy name really, it can't be that one can chant like a Jamil one time, and the holy name is so powerful that it takes away all sinful activities. And therefore, so that people don't artificially conclude that or commit this great offense against the holy name, then all this karma kanda, jnana kanda is sometimes mixed in, even in the life of a devotee who's seriously chanting. But the chanting and devotional service will always be on the prominent platform. And he says, another point, that sometimes the holy name in the life of a devotee, even though that devotee has already chanted once the holy name, or even more than once, purely without offenses, then the effects may not be there immediately, because Krishna wants that people who want to desire to enjoy this material world, that they have the justification to do so. So their justification is that they see that even in the life of a devotee, sometimes there is inconsistencies, or sometimes they may be involved in some sinful activities, even though they're already actually like a Ajamila, already accumulating the effects of bhakti. It's not being shown. I just have to plug in my computer. 1 second. Uh, so so that is another reason. Otherwise, we shouldn't think that the whole point that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is making in relation to these verses, in relation to Ajamila, we shouldn't try to put our own restrictions or our own um, interpret our own understandings of the holy name according to my desire to stop my suffering, according to my condition in the material world. We should accept the glories of the holy name from the platform of pure devotees. And we should look at the lives of those pure devotees and understand this is the effect, this is the reality, this is what will happen when one chants the holy name of Krishna. So, so these are some explanations on these particular verses. And especially, I wanted to just conclude by going to the verse 11 and the purport. Srila Prabhupada makes the point that it is distinguished from, the holy name is distinguished from everything else. And especially that Vishwanath, in his explanation, he says that this also means that even Nam Padai, which is in the verse 11, it says, Yata Harir Nama Padai Udahritais, which means, Srila Prabhupada explains it, that the holy name of Lord Hari, Nama Padai, by the syllables, when it's chanted, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur goes even a step further by saying Nama Padai means even if a holy name is contained within a statement where one did not intend to glorify the holy name, but the holy name is there and it was chanted without offense, it will immediately clear away sinful activity. And one should never doubt this. Even though one may not experience it, one may say, wait a minute, I said Bola Rama 10 years ago before I was chanting, or I said some other name unconsciously. So yes, you got an effect from that, but the effect may not have manifested. And the effect of that may be that you came in contact with the Vaishnavas. And now, after that contact, you're struggling to come to the platform of pure devotional service. And it's only a struggle because we are so identified with the body and we are so caught up in the material environment that surrounds us that it makes it seem like a struggle, when actually it's the most simple and sublime thing that any of us can do. So just like every religion has this miraculous effect of surrendering to the Lord, but they don't define, they don't have an understanding of how that surrender takes place step by step, or how it's an ongoing thing. They make it very cheap. You surrender because you believe in God. You surrender because you're part of this religion. And they consider that surrender. But our acharyas, and especially Srila Prabhupada, says surrender means there is not a drop. Full surrender means there's not a drop of desire to enjoy this material world or to do anything except pleasing Krishna. That is full surrender. And that is the platform that will take us back home, back to Godhead. So I just wanted to conclude also by finishing the story of Haridas Thakur, that he began to explain that liberation is easily achieved by the holy name. Otherwise, if you're really chanting properly, namabhasa, then liberation will come. And as it's stated uh, by different acharyas, and especially Bilba Mangala Thakur, that the holy name becomes a humble servant. I'm sorry, liberation becomes a humble servant. And even um, Sanatana Goswami, in the beginning of his Brihat Bhagavatamrita, he says that liberation has become very distressed in the age of Kali, uh, after the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because uh, liberation is completely uh, covered over, the desire for liberation, by bhakti. And therefore, she becomes a servant of bhakti in order that she can perform her function. Because without Bhakti Devi, uh, that Mukti Devi cannot perform her service properly. She can only give people partial liberation. But to give them full liberation, she has become a servant of Bhakti Devi. So these are interesting points. Uh, so I'm going to stop here. There are many other things I thought about saying and everything, but I don't want to extend myself too much. So we maybe can do that on another class speaking about the holy name. I'd like to make many points because it is our main activity and our main practice. But I just wanted to explain this in terms of Ajamila, that, just one second. Because Ajamila is giving us an example of the potency and the power of the holy name, and how the mercy of the holy name can appear very quickly. It just depends on our level of desire, and that level of desire is the real manifestation of our free will. Otherwise, free will is not an easy thing, and nor do we have much of it. But at every point, we have the possibility of choosing the path of devotion or the path of bondage, which Krishna also mentions in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So I'll stop here and see if there's any questions. Um, here's here's a question. There's some questions that appeared here. How can we live Krishna consciousness intensely without going through trouble? As you said, 2 spiritual brothers were sick, or 2 disciples of mine that I know of were sick by the COVID-19 virus. You cannot practice Krishna consciousness intensely without experiencing trouble. On the contrary, the more pure is your Krishna consciousness, the more Krishna will use you as an example so that others can understand that suffering becomes insignificant. No. When one is actually experiencing the bliss of Krishna consciousness. So sometimes devotees think, well, better I don't want to become a pure devotee because I don't want to suffer. No. Better I just remain like, between neophyte and a little bit of madhyam, and therefore I'll minimize my suffering. But the point is, to become Krishna's servant, we have to be willing. We're already willing, involuntarily, we're willing to accept suffering because it's going to come. Everybody knows that. So we try to make a great effort to minimize that suffering by material formulas. And therefore we become distracted. The best way to even minimize suffering is to become pure, because then the suffering which comes from our past activities, past impressions, or our karma will be diminished. And the suffering that Krishna gives us, he will only give it to us in proportion to our purity and our ability to accept it voluntarily and happily. Just like Krishnadas Kaviraj gives the example of Srimati Radharani. how she's willingly accepting the greatest suffering for her. The greatest suffering for her is that somebody else, some other gopi is with Krishna. Or the greatest suffering of all the gopis is when Krishna goes out in the morning with the cowherd boys. But they accept that. And Radharani accepts it to the highest degree by saying, even if Krishna, if it makes me extremely unhappy that Krishna wants to be with another gopi, but if that gives him happiness, which is my unhappiness, then my unhappiness becomes my happiness. But most of us are not on that platform, and therefore we try to learn through our suffering how to suffer less. So, can I repeat what should be our motivation for chanting? The motivation for chanting should be pleasing Krishna. We may have other motivations, and they're not bad, they're not sinful, unless they are offensive against the holy name. Like if we want the holy name to bring us benefits from the demigods, then that is offensive. But if we want the holy name, we chant the holy name because we don't want to suffer, that's not a very elevated platform, but it's not an offensive platform. But the real motivation and the should be try to please Krishna. Just like anything we do in relation, like if one has a child or a mother or father, whatever we do to someone who we love very much, we simply try to please them. We, of course, a very young child, because they're not mature. They yes, they want their parents to please them, but the parents, and even sometimes the parents, have desire to that the child be in a certain way. So that's mixing. We're mixing our love with our false ego. But when a child is in danger or a loved one is in danger, or we really love someone, we simply want to please them. So if we really love Krishna, we'll want to please him. Okay. It says here, let's take a live one. Bhagavan Narada has raised his hand.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, my obeisances. I have a kind of a question. You spoke earlier about revealing Krishna's plan, and I find myself that I get a little bit impatient, sometimes frustrated while Krishna's revealing his plan, because I want it to kind of hurry up and go my way. And therefore some offenses may happen towards the service, towards a devotee, in my mind, whatever it may be. So as you're explaining these things, they're very purifying, powerful, it's the truth. But at the same time, it's so far from where I can say I am at personally. And I've found myself becoming a little detached from my mistakes. So my question is, in one sense, I'll clarify, is like, how do we as devotees accept these things, aim for them, but at the same time not beat ourselves up when we make a mistake or an offense and feel guilty? Because I've seen devotees, as soon as they make an offense or they realize they're not like on this Uttama Adhikari platform, they just kind of fade away, or they lose confidence, or insecurity may creep in. So how do we balance these things of understanding where we're at and accepting who we are per se, and continuing to kind of push forward without beating ourselves up at the same, because it's very overwhelming, it's very intense, and it's very very purifying, of course, but it can become overwhelming.
Yes, how does a person who wants to make $100 million have the patience to, just not say, well, I'll just play the lottery, and when it comes, that'll be okay. No, they work for it, because the goal is so important to them that it makes the effort worthwhile. So how do we do that? We become more attached to Krishna. We become, by hearing and chanting his holy name in the purest way possible and hearing more and more about him, it takes us out, which of course is, we can understand that process in the Bhagavatam 1, 2, verses 15 through 21. The progression. The progression is that when we acquire transcendental knowledge from Sri Guru and the Vaishnavas and Shastra, then by doing that, then we come to the platform of Shinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shavan Kirtanam, chanting and hearing properly. When we chant and hear properly, then Tadara Rajtamo Sada, then the modes of passion, which causes us to be impatient, and the mode of ignorance, which causes us to give up, gradually disappear, and the mode of goodness becomes manifest in the heart. When the mode of goodness is manifest in the heart, we increase our tolerance and our ability and our patience. These are qualities that come from goodness, the humility, tolerance, and patience. And understanding the greatness of Krishna and the power of the holy name, we patiently await, as the Bhagavatam also says, Tatenu kampam sasamikshamana. We patiently wait Krishna's mercy to manifest, knowing that Krishna is giving it to us in the proper way. Just like a young child, a very young child, when the parents don't give it what it wants, what does he do? Throws a tantrum. But a more mature young person will understand that I used to throw tantrums when I didn't get what I want, but now I see that my parents were always trying to give me the best, the most wonderful thing, the best thing. So therefore, I patiently accept their efforts. So this is just to give a gross example. When we're young, immature children, we throw tantrums. So when we're young, immature devotees, we also throw mental tantrums and we become disturbed when Krishna doesn't give us what we want, when we want it, how we want it. But as we become more mature, and how do we do that? How do we make that transformation? By association with devotees who are more advanced than us, and we see the effects or the product or the final result, or at least the ongoing result of bhakti. And therefore that gives us the strength and determination to come to that platform. So the association of devotees, pure chanting of the holy name, hearing the Bhagavatam, which is recommended by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, living in a purified atmosphere, this gives us the ability to continue to advance, even though our the mode of passion and ignorance will try to make us give up the process of bhakti. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada said, as we discussed the other day, it's don't be surprised who leaves, be surprised who stays. Because this is the highest, purest, most wonderful thing. And we're used to getting everything by, working hard, paying money, and some material formula which is mechanical. And almost, unless your karma is really bad, you can achieve it to some degree simply by efforts and mechanical arrangements in the material world. So we're used to that, and we want to apply that same principle to the process of bhakti. That if I just do this mechanically or systematically without developing love for Krishna, I will get the result. But the result will come when we start loving Krishna. And we will start loving Krishna when we're willing to sacrifice and accept his idea, his plan, his intervention as he likes it. Just as the immature child becomes submissive to the parents when he realizes that what they're doing for me is actually for my benefit. That's I hope that helped you. Yeah. Something, I don't know, I can't hear you now. I don't know what happened. So,
Okay, I was trying to get unmuted. I just wanted to say thank you for that answer. And the one thing that just stuck out to me is when you said that the modes of passion or ignorance will make us quit. And I've heard this in many different ways, but right now that really struck a chord, is to see it like that rather than, of course, some person or some opportunity missed, but it's actually these modes that are discouraging us at times. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Okay, something happened here. Preshta, maybe you can help me out. Oh, here it is. Okay, it's just appearing. I got this list of everybody. Here it is. Okay, let me just try to get rid of this. I don't know why that happened. Anyway. Okay. Sorry, somebody asked the verse. I didn't see that the chant. I don't have somebody put it. Okay. Here's a question. Another question. How can we avoid consumerism when we depend economically so much, you know, at every moment, at every step in it? Of course, a devotee does try to depend on Krishna. How can we avoid it? By consuming only what we need and not becoming a victim of consuming things that are unnecessary. Here's another question. Do we derive any real pleasure from chanting? And is that an impetus to improve our chanting? Yes, we will derive benefit from our chanting if we do it seriously. We may not feel the pleasure, but the pleasure, just like in the case of Ajamila that Vishwanath explains, that bhakti was manifesting in his heart. The bhakti has to manifest to the point where it's not covered by our ongoing desire to enjoy the material world. Then the pleasure of chanting will become more and more manifest. But in the meantime, we should try to experience the pleasure of chanting in kirtan and be dutiful to try to experience the pleasure of chanting in our japa. But in kirtan, if we just participate in the kirtan, which we heard in Srila Prabhupada's purport, by chanting and dancing, which means kirtan, or harinam or kirtan, then we will feel that pleasure. And by feeling that pleasure, then we can understand that there is even a more intense pleasure available to us if we can just associate with Krishna properly and with the proper degree of respect and the proper degree of absorption. Hope that satisfied Radha Vallabha Prabhu. Okay. How does glorifying the holy name and glorifying the devotee compare in ending subtle envious feelings toward Vaishnava? Well, glorifying the holy name and glorifying Krishna is our duty. And once we understand that we are devotees. And glorifying devotees, of course, it's also stated in the 11th canto that one should not glorify anyone nor criticize anyone, but of the two, better to glorify. But in the case of a Vaishnava, we should always glorify them. But the best way to glorify a Vaishnava is to glorify, to follow their advice, to give them that degree of respect and veneration that we were doing what they said or what they recommend. That's the best way to glorify a Vaishnava. And how does it end the subtle envious feelings toward Vaishnavas? Well, sometimes they're not so subtle. If they're subtle, it may be easier to destroy them as long as you can detect them. Sometimes we can't detect our envious feelings. When we can detect them, then what should we do? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, if you offend a Vaishnava or you're envious of a Vaishnava, the best way to eliminate it is to constantly chant the holy name and serve those Vaishnavas. So the more we serve the Vaishnavas, instead of just theoretically glorifying them, but actually serving them, then the envy toward Vaishnavas gradually goes away. So here's a question. So you could say that by not chanting properly, one gets caught up in all those things. That is the basis of everything. Is that the basis of everything? No, if we chant, if we're not chanting properly, meaning if we have some tendency to commit offenses, as I cited from the verse from Padma Purana, if we're trying not to commit offenses and we chant constantly trying not to commit offenses, which is why the devotees they try to chant offenselessly. So if we try to do that, and we chant, every morning, a sincere devotee recites either mechanically or internally the offenses against the holy name, so we try not to commit them, then we will not get caught up in all the other problems that come from offensive chanting. But if you don't try to eliminate offenses, if you just think, well, what can I do? I'm working hard, I got so many problems. Then yes, you will get caught up in so many things, and your bhakti will not develop. You will simply be able to eliminate the effects of past sinful activities and other things, which may make you misinterpret the holy name and give you a sense of, well, the holy name, look, I'm getting benefit from it. Just like one devotee, he said, yeah, by chanting the holy name, I'm meeting more girls than I used to. So therefore, this chanting is great. So this is offensive. So Ananda Vardhan has a question. Can we become attached to Srila Prabhupada's Leela, like Jew who beats troubles, in a small scale? I'd experience at this moment to build a shrine. Oh, I see. So the question is, can we, I see the question is, can we, by hearing Srila Prabhupada's Leela, like the troubles he had to go through in Juhu, can we use that as an impetus to experience the problems in building a shrine to Sri Sri Radha Madhava in Argentina? Yes, it should be our incentive. Srila Prabhupada went through such a struggle, and having the police come, the army came and tried to tear down the walls. They did actually tear down some of the structure when in the initial structure. So many problems to show us our much less problems in doing something, that yes, we have the inspiration. Everything in Srila Prabhupada's life was an intense example of something that we have to go through to a lesser degree to be the inspiration for us to do so. Here's another question. By chanting Jaya Radha Madhava more times than the Maha Mantra, is the same result achieved, since Radharani is the perfect match? Actually, Jaya Radha Madhava is a wonderful, but it's a bhajan. Even in Kirtan, in one conversation between Jayadvaita Swami and Srila Prabhupada and other devotees, they said, Prabhupada, can we chant Bhaktivinoda Thakur's songs in Kirtan? And Prabhupada said, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Hare Krishna. They said, but Prabhupada, can we chant other names of Krishna in Kirtan? And Prabhupada said, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Hare Krishna. So the holy name is the Maha Mantra. The Jaya Radha Madhava is a wonderful bhajan, but also it's a very elevated bhajan. So even to come to the point of chanting Jaya Radha Madhava perfectly, we have to chant the Maha Mantra. And Radharani is much more present in the Maha Mantra than she is in Jaya Radha Madhava, because we say Hare more times than we say Krishna and more times than we say Rama. Krishna and Rama together are equally chanted. But Hare, which is Srimati Radharani, is chanted 8 times every time we say the Maha Mantra. So it is the greatest way. So let me see. I think that Achala Dharika has a question that he wants to present directly by speaking, if he's still there.
Hare Krishna Gurudev, please accept my humble obeisances. Srila Prabhupada, in a few places in Srimad Bhagavatam, said that it is recommended that even if one commits offenses, one should continue chanting the holy name. And then in another place, he even quoted Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur quoted the Padma Purana. Even if in the beginning one chants a Hare Krishna mantra with offenses, one will become free from such offenses by chanting again and again. And quite a few other places, Srila Prabhupada worded it in different ways. So can you elaborate on that, please?
Yes, that's the mantra that I quoted from Padma Purana. Nama Parada Yuktanam. Even if one is still committing offenses, that Namanevya Harantyagam, one must destroy those offenses by this method, Avishanti Prayuktani, by constantly and with great determination or great effort, continually chanting the holy name. So that's what they're referring to, that particular verse of Padma Purana. Even if you're committing some offenses, if you're trying not to commit offenses and you continue to chant constantly, which means every day, whether I'm feeling this or I'm feeling that, or whether I made this mistake, every day I chant my minimal rounds or more with great determination and with that constant, and of course, constant would be best. Either constant means either I continually chant like a Babaji, or that I chant my prescribed number of rounds and then I engage in expanding that chanting in the form of devotional service. If I do that, then I will come to the platform of pure chanting.
Also, I remember once you said that good japa helps your kirtan.
Yes.
And when you do good kirtan, it helps your japa.
Yes, if you really are chanting properly, your japa or your kirtan, the other one will also be on the same platform. But it's easier to participate in kirtan and get more of a benefit, which is why we should always be engaged in kirtan, because japa requires much more intensity than kirtan. Kirtan, we get the intensity from others and the benefit from others. Whereas, of course, sometimes it depends on the kirtan leader. Kirtan leader should also be purified. No, it shouldn't be somebody who's just a good singer. It's interesting that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when he was leaving this world, he didn't choose the person with the best voice or the best melody. He chose the person who he thought could best chant the bhajan that he wanted to hear. So this is another consideration, that in kirtan we should also follow the general rule that the most qualified person to chant is the person who has the superior position in bhakti, meaning that that person who the devotees recognize is the most advanced devotee, not the best singer and not the best voice, unless we're talking about a presentation to the public where we want to make it in such a way that it will be, that people will sit and listen. So So yes, they should be identical. We should come to, if they're not identical, we know that I have to work on the other one. So if I chant very nice japa, but I'm not attracted to kirtan, then it means that I have to work on my japa and to that it will create a desire for kirtan, and work on participating in kirtan. And if I love kirtan, but I don't like japa, it means that my kirtan is not, is not where it should be. It means that I'm trying to enjoy the holy name rather than serve the holy name. So I hope that helps. Let me see now. Here's some more questions. Some people pronounce the name Prahlad and others say Prahalad. Is there a difference? And is one incorrect? You can disregard this question if you wanted to anyway. So the name Prahlad means Prahlada or Prahladan, Ladini. Ladini or Alada means blissful potency. But the Ladini Shakti is not Al-Ladini Shakti, it's Ladini Shakti. And in this case, Prahlad is Prahlad, it's not Prahlad, it's Prahlad. So there is a word Aladha, which means bliss, but the proper name pronunciation is Prahlad. If somebody says Prahalad, well, that's their way of mispronouncing Sanskrit, not using the proper sandhya, which means combination of two syllables. So it's not offensive, it's not bad, but the proper way is Prahlad, not Prahalada. Okay. 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 Advertisement here. Okay. Okay. Here's a question. I was told by someone that the Gayatri mantra is more powerful than the Maha mantra. Can you clarify? No, it is not. It has a specific purpose. One of Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers explained it in a very nice way, and Srila Prabhupada explained it kind of similar, but he said the Gayatri mantra reaches up to liberation, and the Maha mantra goes beyond liberation. No. Otherwise, Gayatri mantra is a mantra to purify ourselves and connect ourselves more with Krishna. The Maha mantra is the maximum manifestation of the holy names of the Lord, so it is greater. It is the greatest. Therefore, it's Maha mantra. Okay. Krishna Madhavasyam Prabhu asks, of the 5 most powerful processes of devotional service, listening to Srimad Bhagavatam is one of them. Only by listening to Srimad Bhagavatam can we achieve perfection. Just as Parikshit Maharaj did it. Or are examples not applicable to us, or are they very high? So I see this question is, yes, listening to the Bhagavatam, but before listening to the Bhagavatam, it's recommended to associate with devotees, because by that association, we would develop attraction to the holy name. By chanting the holy name, our hearing the Bhagavatam will become purified. And by hearing the Bhagavatam, our understanding of the holy name and understanding of the benefit of the devotees will become greater. So although association and chanting generally precede the hearing of the Bhagavatam, they all complement one another. Then by hearing the Bhagavatam and understanding the benefit of living in Vrindavan, we will want to purify our living place. And by understanding from the Bhagavatam that worshiping the Lord is the ultimate goal of life, we will want to worship the deity and Tulsi Devi. So all of these 5 processes are uh, are connected, and yes, they're all very high, especially if you try to do one of them only, or one of the processes of devotional service like Krishna Maharaj, Shukadeva Goswami, Prahlad Maharaj, etc. If you want to just do one of them to perfection, as these devotees did, it doesn't mean that they didn't do the other process. It's not that Shukadeva Goswami didn't hear. He heard from Vyasadeva. It's not that he didn't remember Krishna, but his prominent process was speaking the Bhagavatam or Kirtan. And so these are prominent. It doesn't mean that those devotees who exemplify these processes don't perform the other processes. It just means that that is their main process. Just like the main process for Bali Maharaj is surrender. So I hope that answers the question. Okay. Here's a question. I've recently been hearing Nrsimhadev is also acceptable to use, or is it Narsimhadev? My children have been asking which to use. Different pronunciations. You can say Narasimha. Nrsimha is more proper in the sense that that's what our acharyas use. But Narasimha or Narahari, it's also acceptable. It's just that Nrsimha, generally speaking, in Sanskrit language, you use the most reduced form of word of syllable combinations so that you can say more. But both are acceptable. But it's not Narsimhadev, it would be Narasimhadev. That Narsimhadev or Arjun, all these dropping off the A's, that's something that has become a habit of Hindi. But it's not in Sanskrit, you don't drop them off. You say all the syllables, although the last A is very faint, but it would be Narasimhadev, not Narsimhadev. I hope that helps with the question. Are there any more questions before we stop? Here's a question. How to have more interest in reading Srila Prabhupada's books than being on Facebook and all social networks? Chant the Maha Mantra, associate with devotees, perform devotional service, and especially hearing. Hearing makes us understand the benefit of Krishna consciousness, and also associating with devotees who are feeling happiness in Krishna consciousness gives us the impetus to do what will be beneficial. Actually, one of these days, I'm going to give a little bit of a class on the dangers of Facebook and social networks. One of the greatest dangers is that so many devotees bring issues, internal issues, that concern devotees practicing devotional service or people's attitudes. So when you put that on Facebook, then it can diminish or destroy the faith of new persons or neophyte devotees. And if you do that, then you commit an offense. You commit a Vaishnava aparadh. So one has to be very careful about commenting things unnecessarily on social media. Social media should be used to glorify Krishna. And then if someone wants to bring up problems or difficulties, better with a small group of concerned persons approach more advanced Vaishnavas who can help understand it better, rather than putting it all out. And then we have all kinds of people commenting who are not qualified to comment, because they're commenting from the platform of sense gratification or the platform of personal speculation or whatever. So yes, better to hear. How can one have more interest? Understand this is the highest benefit, and understand that too much time spent on social media, unless you're preaching or discussing about Krishna, is just prajalpa, Gramya Kata, which Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says we should avoid at all costs. Anyone else have a question? One, two, three. After 3 strikes, you're out. Prabhupada said that. No. So therefore we will conclude here. And again, I thank all of you for your participation. And I hope that we can do more and more classes and associate more in that way. Thank you very much. All glory to Sri Guru, Sri Gauranga, Sri Prabhupada. Ki Jai.